All right, what's going on, beautiful people, man? Good evening or good afternoon to you. Thanks so much for joining this afternoon here, where you might be joining from on Facebook or YouTube. While you are joining, go ahead and connect with us. Let us know that you're here, where you're connected from as well. What I wanted to do for you guys is actually kind of go through some numbers, because this is really what's important. To be able to understand something specifically as it relates to the spread of something. They actually have data behind it. And so, you hear so many people with opinions that are not based upon data or research or numbers. And so I said, well, let's see if we can find some numbers on this stuff and start to break down the numbers and kind of see what, see what the numbers tell us. Now, of course, numbers are never as up to date because they're behind. People are still capturing statistics and all that stuff as well. Also, it does not necessarily say what's going to happen, moving forward. But it is good to kind of know just how bad it is, not necessarily how bad it can get, if that makes sense. Of course, we're going to be talking about the coronavirus. What's going on with you, Miss Latia Taylor? Thanks so much for joining. And again, for those that are joining us live and are appreciating getting great content and value, I'm saying, I appreciate bringing it to you, and I'll keep on doing it as long as I can. I mean, that's just what it is. I am a brother that's pretty good at research. I can find some stuff, and I came across this thing today. I think Latia, you might have been the one that helped me to find it. I'm not quite sure. But nonetheless, for those that have not been able to kind of come across the numbers, I figured this may be a good help for you, and at least give you some perspective. Everybody put in console perspective. Give you some perspective. That's all. Give you some perspective. Not that something is right or wrong or true or not true or whatever. But, the way that the media is putting it out, when we start talking about this coronavirus, I think the President Trump may be looking at a state of emergency and the closing of schools and, all the stuff that's going on or that's happening to kind of quarantine people for whatever, is probably the best way to say it. I think it's good to look at, what has happened with people as it relates to this particular virus. So let me see if I can find, my little site here that's giving us some great information, and we'll hop right into this thing. And I'll talk about some things that I find interesting. So there's a site that you can go to. It's a public site. Let me pull it up for you. And it's called, I think it's called corona.help. Okay. Corona.help. And so if you want help getting perspective and looking at numbers, right? Numbers matter, right? Numbers matter. Then you can do that. It's available for you. Let me pull this up, make it a little bit bigger. Okay. So on this site, it's just a site that is capturing information and put into a readable form in the form of charts. And so here we have the Corona live infections and deaths update. So this is a total infection history, and this goes all the way back to January, the beginning of the year, January 22nd. And as of the 13th, we have a total infected of 138,066. That's in the globe, respectively, right? This excludes suspected cases. So these are confirmed, right? Infections. Doesn't mean that more people aren't infected. If you understand what's going on with this virus, you may catch it today, but it may not show any symptoms for 7 days. So we still could have people who are not confirmed because they may have had one cough and then they didn't really pay any attention, and then they had 15 coughs, and then they said, "Oh, something ain't right." So these are confirmed cases, not necessarily. It doesn't include the suspected cases. There could be suspicion all across the world, right? But these are 138,000 people across the world. Now, keep in mind, how many people are actually in the world. Okay, that might be good to know. How many people actually populate the planet? So that gives you a good ratio, right? How many people actually populate the planet? I think I want to take a look at that, see if we can find it out. How many people How many, ask Google, right? How many people populate the planet? It's a good number. So roughly 7.6 billion individuals, right, are on Earth today, right? 7.6 billion populate the world today. So out of 7.6 billion people who populate the entire globe, right, we have 138,000. So this is called putting things into perspective. 100,000 people out of 7.6 billion people. That number seems a little bit small. You see what I'm saying? We ain't even got to 1 billion cases yet. We just cracked 100,000 cases. We ain't even got to 1 million cases. We just cracked 100,000 cases across the planet. Okay. Now I'm not saying it's not a pandemic. I'm not saying it's not serious. I'm just saying let's just understand numbers and relativity towards one another. So out of 7.6 billion people in the planet, would you say that 138 is pretty small compared to the population of the planet? I would say so. I mean, that's not even 10%. It's probably 1%. If we take billions down to 100,000, it's about 1%. 1% of people have been infected. Now, let's keep going. Let's scroll on down a little bit. So 138,000 cases out of 7.6 billion people. That's just infection. Next graph you're going to see is going to be those that have died from the infection as far as the confirmed dead. Okay, now we don't want, we don't really, want anybody to die, but there have been some people that have passed away, mostly elderly people. But out of that 138,000 that were infected, only 5,000 people have actually passed away across the whole planet. This is called having global thinking, as we know that this virus didn't really start in the United States. If you're United States, it kind of got its wind going in China. So everybody put a console hashtag global. So 7.6 billion people on the planet. Out of the 7.6 billion people on the planet, 100,000 or a little less than 1%. I mean, that's less than 1%. Less than 1% of the people have actually been infected, and obviously 0.000 something have actually died from this coronavirus. I just want to be able to interpret numbers, right? Interpret numbers. See, our people perish for lack of knowledge, and when you have numbers, you have data, that should help you to subside. Say, okay, I can understand numbers. All the rest of the stuff is fluff and fear and feelings and all this stuff. What could happen, what might happen, all that stuff. But this is what, according to this site, the things that have actually occurred across the planet. Now, what I wanted to do is I said, well, okay, all right, I get that. Okay, this making sense. I get this a little bit. Now let's take it a little step further. Here is the total amount of cases that have recovered, confirmed recoveries, that they had the infection, right? But they no longer have the infection. They got through it. They recovered. They still living. They're clear. They're healed by his stripes. So out of 138,000 cases that were infected, more than half of them have actually recovered, which means that we have about 75,000 that's accounted for. That gives us another about 60,000 that are maybe still going through the process of recovery or quarantine or whatever they're going through right now. They're not dead. They're not healed. They're somewhere in the middle. Right? Numbers. Now we also see here that some days, particularly days that were represented on 2/2, which is February 2nd. They had 253 deaths and they had 15,000 infections. That was a huge day for the infections. Just that one day. But there hasn't been another day like that since February 2nd, where this is a lot of people to get infected in one day, 15,000 people in one day. Right? How good is it to actually look at some numbers, to look at some data, to put things into some perspective? How good is that? Now, of course, I live in the United States, and so I was like, okay, now that I see that, what else can I learn from this site with some data that they have gathered for us? Well, right here we have corona infections by country, coronavirus deaths by country, and then recent activity, right? So the main place where we had the most infections and the most deaths were in China. So out of that 100 and what is it? Let's go back. Out of 130,000 cases, 80,000 of them were in China, mainland China. Okay? Out of 130 some odd cases to date, that doesn't mean that more won't come, but more than half of them were in China. And the most amount of deaths obviously took place in China as well. Second, we have Italy. Italy's got 15,000 cases now. Italy's going through some tough things. They're doing some stuff right now. And Italy has the second most deaths. Then we have Iran. Iran, 111,000 cases infected, 514 deaths. Let's keep going. I still don't see United States, by the way. South Korea, 77, 79. They only got 67 deaths. So count South Korea, out of 8,000 people that's been affected, they have only reported 67 deaths from the coronavirus. Spain, 4,200 infections. They have reported 120 dead from the coronavirus. Germany. Now, here's interesting. Germany, 3,116 confirmed infections, but they only have confirmed 6 deaths out of 3,000 infections. See, if looking at numbers won't help you, I don't know what will. Let's keep going. Right? Help you to sustain. This is all about sustaining your mentality. Right? Fortifying your faith. Next, we have France, which had 2,800 confirmed infections, on 61 deaths. And then we finally get to the United States, which they consider to be high. For the United States, the country I live in, currently our latest numbers were 1,829. So over 1,800 people, right, in the United States have tested or have confirmed to have the infection. In the United States, confirmed deaths from the infection, only 41. Only 41. So I find this interesting because I was looking for the United States for a while, and I was like, man, where the heck is the United States? So here's the United States graph. Infections history, 1,829. This will be their confirmed infections. Their deaths, obviously, began to increase a little bit, but we only had, from yesterday to today, we only had 1 confirmed death. From 2 days ago to today, we've only had 5 confirmed deaths from the coronavirus. Now, we can surmise, based upon the overall data, I'll come back to the United States in just a second. From this number here, now it went up to 140,000. See how the numbers update is changing. So we can surmise that, from 140,000 to 70,000 recovered, that more than half the people so far, and probably more, that actually may, catch the virus are going to recover. They're going to live on. They're going to be okay. Now, there's some people in here that's were unfortunate. 5,300 deaths. Some people didn't make the cut. They didn't make. They didn't make it through. But there will be death. I mean, it's imminent. There will be people who die based upon this particular, pandemic. Now, let me go back to the United States. So, United States, 41 deaths. But right now they're only showing 8 recoveries. So they got 1,800 people that have been infected. We only have 50 people accounted for. 41 dead, 8, probably still in recovery of some sort. So we're missing some data as it relates to the United States. And then we can break down. Now they come in here once we come to the country. Now they're breaking it down by state, saying, hey, they don't know where 752 of the cases are, but the place where they've seen the most cases is in Washington. That's over there in Seattle. That's over on the West Coast. They got 216 that have been reported in New York, 109 in California, 92 in Massachusetts, 46 in Diamond Princess, which I don't know what that is. I'm in Georgia. We've only reported 22 cases in Georgia. So again, it's nothing to say that this pandemic isn't real. It's nothing to say that this it's not as serious as they make it to be. I appreciate, the governors and the mayors taking precautionary measures as they have done, as they have been slow to do that in the past. But let's take a look at the numbers and understand what the numbers tell us as it relates to this particular sickness, this particular disease, and then hopefully, help you to calm any thoughts. It'll help you to silence the noise in your life, so that you really can be an asset to whoever that you connect with. So I just want to do this real quick, guys. I want to take a whole bunch of your time, but I wanted to show you this site, this place that you can come if you wanted to kind of grab some information and see what's going on with coronavirus. Again, the virus itself has spread 140,000 people across the planet. That'd be 7.6 billion people. Out of the 7.6 billion people, only 5,300 of them have actually passed away from this particular virus. And then here's your daily change for the virus itself. And it's up to 140,613 people across the board. This is the recovery. I'm sorry, people that recovered. So hopefully this was helpful, guys. Again, for you to help you to fortify your faith, to help you to not listen to everything that's on the news that's going to ramp it, that's going to basically make everything worse, but to really have a proper perspective on this coronavirus and really what's going on. Okay, so Latia, Phyllis, and whoever else might be here, I appreciate you guys for showing up, your support. We know that people have value different things. And it's great to see that some people actually value the content that we're bringing here on our platform and on our page, or whatever the case may be. All right, I'm ERGJ, man. You guys have a wonderful afternoon. Again, tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome to Wall Street Marathon begins. If you are going to be there, or want to be there, or plan to be there, you want to make sure that you register, and that you also, you also bring your pen and paper with you, or if you're doing it digital, so that you can take notes and kind of start moving things in a route that works for you. Okay, what's going on, Phyllis? Thanks so much. I appreciate it. I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. Here is data that we got on the coronavirus, data itself, and so let's not be walking. Let's not just be listening and paying attention and capturing all of our information from media outlets that do not back up what they're talking about with data. You got a place you get your own data. That's corona.help, to be able to help you to see things and put things into proper perspective. All right, I'm out, guys. Until next time, man. Mr. DJ, hit that music, brother.